immunization campaigns in 24 countries have been postponed due to the coronavirus. More are expected to be delayed ahead. Last month, the World Health Organization recommended governments temporarily stop preventative vaccine campaigns. Sandra?
Thank you, Ed. The pandemic may be taking a toll on your child's mental health. A New York City psychologist says he is seeing a surge in calls for help. Aishna Hasni is live in New York City with that story for us this morning. Good morning.
Sandra, good morning. You know, this is so important since New York State launched its emotional helpline in response to this crisis about 20 days ago. It's already received about 9,000 calls from all different age groups. But doctors say we can't forget about our kids. They're impacted by this as well. Clinical psychologist and the president of the Manhattan Psychology Group, Dr. Joshua Rosenthal, says his office is seeing an increase in families calling for help. And in his experience, younger kids do better as long as parents maintain a routine. But older kids, those teenagers, they may find it more difficult to adjust to all the changes.
They could just be totally blowing off school, not talking to anyone, and just, numbing out on YouTube videos all day long because they're anxious and worried and depressed and they're trying to distract themselves. And no one would know because they're not going to reach out for help.
So he gave us some tips for parents. Have some meals together with your kids. Take those family walks. Even monitor their online activity if that's the arrangement you have with your kids, and check in with their friends' parents. Now, one California mom is warning parents out there to do more. Earlier this month, her 15-year-old daughter, Giovanni Smith, died by suicide, and the mom thinks that it had something to do with the coronavirus stay-at-home order. She says she never saw it coming.
I felt that I was doing all that I could as a parent to leave the communication open.
And so if you do notice a change in mood or behavior with your child, doctors say make sure you reach out for professional help sooner rather than later. Sandra?
Really great information. Aishna Hasni, thank you very much.
Prepare for the next phase of this great struggle. We must also do everything in our power to restore prosperity for the American worker. There's tremendous interest and excitement surrounding the administration's efforts to get the economy roaring once again.
President Trump right there setting his sights on reopening the economy, looking to get American businesses back up and running. Cheryl Casoni's been all over this. Of course, she's the anchor of FBNAM. Good morning, Cheryl. And I wonder, the president initially said, I've got total authority. Then he sort of backpedaled that and said, I'm going to work with the governors. This is very important how all of it is orchestrated.
Yeah, and how businesses begin to actually get back to business is the question. And even Jamie Dimon, even Dr. Fauci have said, look, maybe not May, June, July, August. I mean, we've all seen the projections for GDP down 20, 30%. We've seen the unemployment projections at 20%. But I mean, the good news for the stock market is that we know that as far as the economy goes and how businesses handle this, business is going to look different. And how that we interact with each other when we get back to our offices is going to be different. We're probably going to be wearing masks into 2022, social distancing into 2022. The big concern right now is if there's a second wave. There was a Bank of America survey of fund managers, and they said 57% believe that if we do get that second wave, that's the biggest risk. But I want to push back on that data because if there's a second wave, right, of the virus, it's going to be a lot different than this first wave has been. You've got Johnson & Johnson working on a vaccine. Abbott Labs is working on an antibody test. They're planning to have 20 million of these antibody tests out in the next several weeks, right near me here in Midtown Manhattan and near you, NYU Langone. Huge study that's going on, hydroxychloroquine. So whether it's a vaccine, whether it's a treatment, whether it is more ventilators being produced by American businesses, if there is a second wave of this virus, even if it does come in the summer or the fall, it's not going to look like this. And so I think that some of that fear is a bit unfounded, in my opinion.
Good points there. Checking out FBN.com. Interesting story there about how big tech is jumping in to help. The headline, tech companies team up to help small businesses stay open. Coronavirus causes PayPal, Salesforce, GoDaddy, Slack to help out. Talk about how they're pitching in.
Well, one thing that social media has created in our world is the ability to reach out to people that you may know or you don't know. And so you've got kind of this community that they've built. These companies are behind it to where small business owners can reach out to other small business owners or to large company executives to get inspiration, to get ideas. I mean, look, even though all these companies, small businesses are applying for the PPP right now, that may only get them through for a couple of months, maybe 4 months. I mean, what's their business going to look like on the other side when the economy does start to reopen? And one great example is gyms. Okay, so I love my gym here in New York. They started an Instagram account with daily workouts. It is free. Anybody can follow it. That's their way of staying connected to their customers. And that's one of the things that technology companies are pushing. How do you keep your business going while we're shut down so that those customers come back to you when the economy reopens? So it's interesting.
We heard so long about digital extensions and how to use your website and other, as you say, social media. Sure enough, they're doing it in this case. As we look at the Dow down about 650 points today, interesting because it was such a strong day yesterday. It seemed like maybe the markets were accounting for some of the trouble spots in the economy. But then you get a whole bunch of new data today that suggests we're not quite through this.
Yeah, look, a lot of the bank earnings that came out this morning, look, they weren't great, but honestly, I thought they could have been more terrible. We covered them on Mornings with Maria today. But if you look at, there was some data coming out of the New York Manufacturing Index, that was a pretty rough number. And then at 10 a.m., when we saw a little bit of more of a leg down for the Dow, as you're mentioning here, we got NAHB data, and that's home builder data, and sentiment was at 30. That's pretty darn negative. That number is usually an 80, it's a 90. So, the pessimism is out there. But again, going back to the point, we know what the projections are. We know things are going to be rough. And the street's ready for that. And honestly, this volatility we're looking at right now, Ed, we've seen a lot worse. We've seen 2,000-point days. You don't have that right now.
Yeah, we shall see. We're watching it closely. Cheryl Casone, appreciate you coming in as always.
You bet.
Sandra.
Thank you. China facing some harsh criticism over its handling of the early days of the coronavirus outbreak. Was it all part of a political cover-up? Plus, how U.S. hospitals are handling the crisis and how folks on the front line are dealing with the emotional impact of it all.
It's hard to think that some of your patients that you diagnosed today might not be here tomorrow when you come back for your shift.
I've got some terrific news for veteran homeowners from New Day USA.